All right, folks, welcome one, welcome all. Appreciate you joining me. This is the Appraiser Coach Podcast. My name is Dustin Harris. Want to talk to you about a topic today that has been on my mind really kind of off and on for the last couple of years, really. It is a topic that I think is pertinent to the daily lives that we find ourselves in as appraisers. But that being said, the focus of this particular podcast in general is not so much how to be a better appraiser as much as how to be a better appraisal business owner. My focus is on how to make more money as a real estate appraiser. Now, part of that, a big part of that, is being the very best appraiser that you possibly can. Not only do you not want to lose your license, but you do want to have high quality work, and you are not going to last very long. Sometimes I get a bad rap. Okay. Sometimes people hear a little bit of what I do. They might read a blog or two. They might listen to an episode or two, and they automatically, I would say, misjudge what I do. They say that I'm all about speed. I'm all about getting things done. I'm all about efficiency, but quality goes by the wayside. Well, you can't be that type of an appraiser very long and keep your business running. You have to be a high quality appraiser in addition to being an efficient and effective appraiser. And so that is the topic today. That is the topic in general, I should say. Today we're going to talk more about how to be a better appraiser and a mistake that I see happening far too often. I want to pause here first of all to remind you we are sponsored today by Anow Software. Anow is spelled A-N-O-W. ANOW.com is where you can find out more. In fact, if you don't mind, folks, go to anow.com/coach. Little different address that I want to throw out there. The reason for that, it'll take you to the same place virtually, but you do get a little bit of a benefit if you go through the process through me, through this podcast. Plus, it tells them that people are listening. So if you don't mind, anow.com/coach, anow.com/coach. All right, folks, I want to talk about computer-generated incompetence today. Okay? No, not incontinence. There's a difference. We're going to talk about incompetence today. And we're going to talk about it's always unfortunate, but sometimes it is a detrimental thing that we rely too much on technology. Now, let me back up just for a second and remind you that I'm huge on technology. I'm big on technology. Any of you have seen my introductory speech that I've given several times across the country. I talk about the three-leg stool approach to quality, to the three-leg stool approach to success. And I talk about the top of that stool being the appraisal business, and I talk about three legs. Those three legs are technology, human resources, and procedures. Technology, human resources, and procedures. Now, I'm huge on technology. You know that I carry a smartphone. I'm going to hold it up for the camera. This is an iPhone 6 Plus. I have been using mobile for 20 years, honestly. I know that it's a shock to most people. They did not even realize you could do appraisals in the field on a computer 20 years ago, but you could, thanks to a la mode. And I'm big on laser measuring. I've been doing lasers about the same time, about 18 years I've been doing lasers using a disto. I've never owned anything else, and I've loved disto. I do know there's some other brands out there that do good, but I digress. I want to make the point that I'm big on technology, okay? And I don't want to take anything away from that today in talking about the things that I'm talking about. What I want to do is help us as appraisers to be more careful. I want to help us as appraisers to be cautious that we do not rely too much on technology. This comes from it stems from, like I said, I've been thinking about this off and on for quite a while. But I got an email. I'm just pulling it up here. I got an email recently from a listener who reached out to me over the weekend and said, I'm just going to read to you, said, what do you think about win totals weighted average of the comps ranking? Okay. Is it okay to use this win total weighted average technique in the final reconciliation of the sales comparison approach in determining market value? It's a great question, folks. So basically, a la mode allows, as you're in the side-by-side view of the comps, And for those of you who utilize Total, you know what I'm talking about. You can look at all of your comps in one screen at once. Even if you've got 15 comps, they can be right next to each other, so you don't have to scroll and jump to different pages. You can just pull them all up, and across the board, you can see all your adjustments. You can see all of the comps. And with that, a la mode looks at your net, your gross, your single line adjustments, and it automatically weights the comps based on those things. Okay? And so this individual reached out to me and said, hey, Dustin, what do you think about utilizing this type of thing? Utilizing the automatic weighted, not that you just plug it in and go to town, but that you plug it in and then you explain why you used it. And folks, I would say it's got to be more of an explanation than Total told me to, right? I don't think that's going to fly in a court of law with your peers in a review situation, or heaven forbid, before the state board. Okay? I think there needs to be a reason for that. Now, I'm going to give you the answer, and then we're going to go to break, and then I'm going to explain my answer when we come back. My answer is, JW, thank you for reaching out to me. The question is, can you use WinTotal's weighted average technique in the final reconciliation of the sales comparison approach? And the answer, JW, is yes. Yes, you are the appraiser. The answer is yes. But, ellipsis. Okay, I'm going to leave you hanging on that. I want to talk to you a little bit about ANow software. Folks, I've been using ANow for over a year now. I love ANow software. It was very easy to start using. I thought it would be difficult to move from my current Google Sheets keeping track of appraisals to ANow. I was very hesitant when they approached me and wanted me to utilize the software. The only reason I jumped on board, folks, was not because they sponsor this program. It was because I went through the demo and I was dumbfounded at all ANow can do. Folks, you can go through that same demo free of charge. You just have to go to anow.com/coach and you can go through a demo. They can show you what ANow will and can do for your business. Folks, it will blow you away. This is not a spreadsheet alone. Yes, it keeps track of your appraisals, but this is so much more. The analytical tab allows you to get a snapshot with a punch of a button, with a mouse click, of your business, how it's doing, how it has been doing, allows you to search and research and keep track of paids and unpaids. Folks, this is a need in your appraisal office, not just a want. This thing is essential. You need to check them out, anow.com/coach. That's anow.com/coach. And we are back, folks. We are talking today about computer-aided incompetence, okay? And specifically, this came from a great question from a listener. Talked about the weighted average that Total will give to your comparables, and says, you ought to give 32% to comp number 1. You need to give 16% to comp number 2, and what have you. The question is, can you trust that? Should you use that? And my answer to that is yes, you can. And yes, you I don't know about should, but could use that. But it comes with a caveat. And here's the caveat, folks. Here's the thing that you got to understand. Computers are dumb. Now, I know we call these things, I'm holding up to the camera again, we call these things smartphones, right? But they're not. They're computers, okay? They were made by human beings, and they if you broke everything down, you're looking at ones and zeros. That's what these things are. They're computers. They do certain things that you tell them to do. But they do not have artificial intelligence. They cannot reason. They cannot be analytical in the same sense that human beings can. And I think if you remember that one rule of thumb, that computers can and should be, technology even, can and should be a huge boon to your appraisal office, boon to your efficiency, your effectiveness as an appraiser and as a business owner, but it should not replace common sense as human beings, and that's the key. Let me give you an example. Okay, in fact, let's just use this example. The question that came to me, could you use the weighted average? Sure you could, but do you understand what has gone into that weighted average? Do you understand what has caused the computer to do what it does? If you do not, folks, you're ending up with computer-generated incompetence, meaning you don't know what you're doing and you're trusting a thing above your brain, and that is a recipe for disaster. Let me give you another example. I recently talked to a guy who has served on the state board in a state. I'm not going to tell you which state. I'm not going to tell you which guy. But I will tell you that he and I have a good relationship, and I have reason to trust him. This will be a very anecdotal story. I don't have anything to source, just him. He told me a story of an individual who came before the state board, and they started asking questions about the cost approach. And the answer that came from the appraiser, the explanation for why he had done what he had done, maybe it was a she. We'll use he today because I started with that gender. The reason the appraiser had done what he had done, his answer was, well, I plugged it in and the computer kicked that out. I don't really know how it happened, but that's what I always do. Okay, folks, seriously? You're standing before a state board and you're pointing the finger at a computer? I don't think that's going to fly. I don't think that's going to fly because a computer doesn't have a license. A computer can't think. And folks, you are 100% responsible. Please understand this. You're 100% responsible for what you do as an appraiser. Not the computer, you, the one with the license, the person with the liability. That is you. So to answer this guy's question, can you use the weighted average? Absolutely, if, number one, it makes sense. And number two, you understand how the computer generated it. Okay, don't just trust your cost approach that your appraisal software kicks out. Do not, folks. You need to understand it. The other mistake that I see happening quite often, and I fear where this is going. Okay, because I think it hurts the industry in general. Okay, Josh Wallet and I did a reconciliation webinar not too long ago. You can still find it on my website. It's still for sale. It's a 2-part series. It's 90 minutes each. They're super good, okay? Josh Wallet did not utilize anything in that webinar except Excel. Now, you and I both know that Excel is not dynamic in the sense that it already has the formulas plugged in, okay? He started with a blank Excel spreadsheet, and he showed on the webinar how to do reconciliation using nothing but Excel. It was an eye-opening experience for me. I hosted it, but I was not the expert. He was. And I was blown away by how much you can do. Now, I've been using Excel for a lot of years, but most of what I had been doing is single line regression. He talked about some in-depth stuff that was much more in-depth, multiple regression lines, and the ability to be able to really manipulate the data, and I mean manipulate in a good way, to come up with the answers that would show a real snapshot of the market, the adjustments, those kind of things. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of software, as you all know, a lot of software right now on reconciliation, okay? Or excuse me, on regression. I hope I didn't say reconciliation earlier. If I did, ignore me. I meant regression, okay? The webinar that Josh and I did was on regression analysis, okay? I loved the webinar because it allowed me to be able to see what it is that these other computer programs do. I'm not going to name them, but you know what I'm talking about. There are, a handful right now of great programs that allow you to do regression with your MLS data, okay? My question, folks, is do you trust those programs without knowing what they're doing in the background? That's what's scary to me. We buy these programs, we hook them up, we plug them in, and then we just trust that whatever pops out must be the right answer because the computer did it. Folks, don't do that, okay? Please don't do that. Don't be the guy that came before this state board member and said, well, I just plugged it in and the computer did it. Folks, have more respect for your work than that. Understand what you are doing. Yes, technology can be a huge thing. Yes, we should rely upon it. Yes, we should utilize it to be more efficient, more effective. No, you should not just trust it blindly. You should double check. You should understand what goes into the formulas that allows computers to do what they do. Folks, thanks for joining me. I want to remind you that the regression analysis webinar is online. You can just jump on my website. It's theappraisercoach.com. We've got a brand new website, by the way. I hope many of you have been to that and seen that. We put a lot of work into it. It's much easier to navigate. It's much prettier, if you ask me. And I think that you'll enjoy it. But when you go there, you just need to go to business coaching. Okay, and then do the drop down and go to webinars, and the webinar is right there, and it is excellent. You will love it. You will learn a ton about regression. Please go there, please check it out, and please keep listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast.